Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. Board game news, everything you need to know. Tons of new games, expansions, sequels, separate games altogether, reprints. But what are we starting with this week? What are we starting with? Mythic is drowning, and so are the costs. Did you hear? Siege 6 is charging people again. Again? Not for shipping though. Not for shipping. For production. Man, this is a tough pill to swallow. If you did not get it and you're not on Mythic's subscription list, their newsletter, I don't know, half a dozen or so emails in the last week that they are like discounting everything, like 50% off, right? Super Fantasy Brawl, Darkest Dungeon, whatever remains of that, and just everything else, right? And I was kind of like, well, that's weird. Barely getting spam from them. I wonder what's going on behind the scenes. Well, let's talk about that because the latest Kickstarter update, wow. And boy, howdy, is it juicy. And they go into some of the details. You know, we're way behind, essentially. I remember looking at this one and saying, I'm interested in this, but it's too tactically deep for head-to-head with my wife and I to play this on the tabletop, so I had to pass. I was looking at it on the secondary market, though, because it looked very solid from all of the hype that went into it. But the interesting thing on the production side of things, and this update is just, you know, chock full of bits. And let me just pull it up because I'm not going to do it justice otherwise. Most publishers that I know of, and I know very little of this side of things, but most of them go in with a production scheme, a plan in the first place. And so this is really an odd statement as a whole, right? Well, in the past few weeks, how much has transpired since you actually finished the crowdfunding campaign? And, you know, they compare all the prices. You should have been doing this months ago. This ended in July of 2021. 2 years after the fact, we're still not at production, and you still haven't chosen a manufacturer? Like, WTF, Mythic? Let's go back up here, though, for a second. In order to compensate you for your monetary amount, and we'll get to that, and that's the point that's going to make you spit out your coffee, you get a little STL file here for some guys, you get whatever the fruitcake this is, and then you get an exclusive 2 new maps, which are kind of good, shipped with your order, because if you only got the core pledge, you're basically getting 1 map, but if you got the map pack, if you got the all-in, that's not really nearly as significant. And let's get down to this, right? They talk about how it was well received, and people were very satisfied after they contributed further to Darkest Dungeon. Okay, show me the memo on that one. Proof is in the receipts. Nope, negatory, I'm sorry. And I say this as someone who wants to see this game succeed. This looks like a very solid tactical, everybody's preaching 10 out of 10 on the Kickstarter hype quotes, right? Here we go though. Right? And I'm not making this, right? I'm not making this up, right? The Darkest Dungeon quote comes right here. Okay, here we go. You got the core pledge, it's going to cost you $39 extra. You get the all-in gameplay, it's going to cost you an extra $100. If you got the premium all-in, it's going to cost you $130. And don't worry, whatever pledge level, you're going to get basically more of those, or same of those bonuses, right? Now let's talk about this though for a second, because you're going, okay, Chris, $39 doesn't sound like a lot. $100 sounds like a lot, Chris, but okay, $129. Okay. Craziness is going to ensue right here. $39 for this, essentially, folks. I'm not making this up. Here you go. The pledge was only $69 forking dollars. You are literally paying over 50% of your pledge again. Okay. Not convinced? Here's the trooper pledge above my head. You're paying $100. It only cost you $200. Folks, you haven't paid shipping, I'm guessing, yet as well. So you're going to pay $300 before shipping for this thing if you're a gameplay all-in. Are you happy about that? But you're getting 2 extra maps. Awesome! And the interesting thing here, though, is the premium all-in is only an extra $30, despite the price point actually being an extra $70. So they kind of halved it there, right? Forking insane. If I cussed, this would be one of the few times I cussed on this channel. And they say that this is only covering the printing for 6th Siege, which again is also a scary thought. It's good, but it's also freaking terrifying because it means that this isn't robbing Peter to pay Paul, folks. This means that Paul is still in significant amount of debt with the other projects. And that's probably why they were trying to supplement and whatever they could, offering basically a flash burn sale this past week. That's wow. But let's not forget refunds. How many people do you think are going to refund with this? I'd say this is probably going to, if you know what, this isn't a tough pill to swallow, great. But $100 extra on a $200 pledge for 2 maps before shipping. Because, you know, most of the people probably got the gameplay all inside of things. Let's take a look at this, right? 2,900 people got the smooth operator pledge. 2,400 people got the trooper pledge. How many total backers were there? Here, let's pull this up really quick at the top here. 10,000. So 50% of your people. 50% that didn't get the $1 pledge, of course. That's insane. Refunds. I can't imagine being the person having to process refunds because, again, that's going to eat away even further at things. Wow. Wow. Is this a death blow? I have no clue. I have no clue, but this is more massive than anything that I would have predicted. If you would have told me they were paying extra for shipping and part of the shipping cost that they're charging was going to be used to aid in the production, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I would have said sure. But this, at this time, with taking 2 years to even get this game fully developed, WTF. Bitoku! Let's start off with a bang. Bitoku right behind me. Rasudaron. Bitoku Rasudaron is the new expansion. It's going to be a 3 modular expansion that you can include any one of the ones that you want, or you can go full menu and get all of them in place. A little bit of new rocks, a little bit of new yokai, and some new cards and a new deck that's going to allow you to, well, activate certain effects that'll give you modifying abilities for the dice rolls, which is always an aggravating thing for a dice worker placement style of game. And so more of Bitoku? I mean, yeah. Bitoku's a good game. It's a really good game, actually. It's not as heavy as it appears. Or maybe I'm just getting better at playing games. That one, not until Essen, though. So between now and then, go play something else. Let's just stick with the theme of expansions. AEG, one of my favorite games of all time, one of the most played games in my collection. Space Base, and you know, people are gonna laugh at that, but Space Base is a great game. Space Base is getting a new expansion, Space Base Genesis. And you know, John DeClaire, the designer, actually went out on Twitter and said, hey guys, if you have any interest in this game whatsoever, this is the expansion to get. It just gives you more of everything that you want, and not any really more rules overhead. Just more variety of different things that they're going to throw at you, because that was the other expansion issue with Pluto sometimes, is some of the stuff, like the little ship things, are just not great. And so they said, okay, great, it's coming soon, and pick it up because it's going to be better than all the other expansions, which I can believe because my wife really doesn't like the Shy Pluto expansion whatsoever. Staying with that though, we are getting a new Marvel Champions. We talked about Next Evolution, the next big box expansion in terms of the X-Men, but now they've announced at least one character pack that we're gonna be getting along with that, and that's Psylocke. I love Psylocke. She's a master manipulator, ninja, telepath. Oh, just so cool all in one, right? Psionics. She's a psionic. She uses psionic knives, right? And I always wanted to do a D&D 5th edition character of a psionic. Anyway, X-Force is getting more. So what else are we going to see? I think we're going to see 2 or 3 more other ones along with this cycle, and it's just going to slowly leak out over the next couple weeks, I'd imagine, and we're going to see when else they come out. It's going to be after Next Evolution, which isn't going to be until the fall as well. So you're probably looking at the September, October, November realm for the next hero packs. Then we'll go over to Sorcerer's Arena. Sorcerer's Arena, Disney's OP asymmetric 1 versus 1 dueling style game. It's getting at the ready, a newest expansion that's also going to be coming out later this year. 3 characters, Robin Hood, Mrs. Potts, and Mulan. I'm super excited about 2 of those 3. You can argue in the comment section which one of the 3 I'm not excited about, but it's not Mulan and it's not Robin Hood. Anyway, new attacks, new abilities, new characters. I mean, this is, you know, choose your poison, right? You either like Sorcerer's Arena, you like your Unmatched, you like your whatever, your ilk, but more of it's a good thing. I own 2 of the 3 expansions already. So awesome. Now, getting the standalone expansions, we're going to talk about Get On Board. Get On Board is the Let's Make a Bus Route version that was brought over to America. North America, and I really said that once this game comes over, that it's going to be a big hit. Well, it is a big hit because now we're getting a new standalone game called Paris and Roma. They take the roll and write and they make it a flip and write. That's fine. You get a new route card, you get new routes, best passengers, as well as like maybe like lovers, they said, instead of just like regular passengers. So, I mean, the question is just going to be, how different is it? What's going to be actually different about it? Is it going to be, like I just mentioned about the crowdfunding scene of things, is it the 2.0 version? Are you going to get New York and London now, or are you just going to skip to this one and not really bother with the first one? That's the problem with these standalone expansions in the first place. Forum section has a little bit of the analysis, the rules. They really are negging on it right now. Solo mode is just going up against a scoring table, and one of the maps is going to be best for 2 to 3, and one of the maps is going to be best for 4 to 5, but take that for what you will. Is it going to be more appealing to you? Do you have any interest in that style of things? Great game. Check it out. Now let's go back a half step to expansions, because, you know, I completely forgot about this one for a second. Planet Unknown. Right here, right? Big crowdfunding, can't get it anywhere. It's sort of out of stock everywhere, and people want the deluxeified little tray that spins around and has all the premium components. Well, your chance is going to be coming back soon to crowdfunding later this summer, because they have announced that they're, well, coming back to crowdfunding. But more importantly, if that's one of your favorite games, you can now get more of it. There's going to be a new expansion called Bum-ba-da-dum-ba-dum, Supermoon. Supermoon? Okay, we'll go with it. No details yet, but it was just announced on Twitter, so we'll see what comes. How much more can you add? New tiles? Is it going to fit in the base game? That's going to be sort of the issue, because that little thing that spins around in the first place is pretty full. How modular are you going to make it? I'm guessing you're going to have an all new second map that's going to go along with it, or just maybe more asymmetric factions boards in the first place. I don't know. I like it. How does it compare to other tile layers? Is it my favorite tile layer? Probably not, but does it deserve a second chance and more content? Absolutely. So we'll see when they announce an exact date later this year. Now we'll go to another interesting topic of news of note, because you've probably gotten the emails, you've probably gotten the crowdfunding updates if you're anything like me, right? You've probably gotten them left, right, center, 6 a day even. Board Game Geek Awards are going on, in case you missed it, because all of the companies that are on the awards are sending out those flyers via electronic delivery. So I don't know. I made a whole video. It's going to come out hopefully later this week of my predictions of who should win, who I think will actually win. Always interesting, though. Always interesting what gets nominated. Just like the Board Game Geek Awards, just like the Dice Tower Awards. What gets nominated, what gets out there, right? What fits the categories, what gets actually slotted in each of the categories. You know, can't have Wingspan win everything from solo, best 2-player, best heavy, mid, and lightweight game this year, so that's a good thing. But I mean, that's sort of the issue, and that's sort of been the issue in the past. At least the Board Game Geeks stay relatively close to the year release. Like some of the other stuff, even my own included, what did I play that year? Did it fall on me playing it that year or not? Not necessarily was it released. And that's the problem with the industry in a whole. And that's actually coming out soon for me, my top 10 games of 2022, because I didn't play everything in 2022 in 2022. It's impossible. It happens. And so it's going to be really interesting to see, are these awards really that special? Yeah, some of these companies actually like throw it all over the place on their products, on their labels, and you know, on their crowdfunding pages even. So it holds weight. How much weight? I guess it's up to you, but I'll be talking about it, reacting to it, if you will. That's more of a reaction video. It's a ramble too. It's a good video though, folks. You need to watch it because there's a few rants and rambles in there that you'll like. Well, what else we got? Let's go back to Sashi and Sashi, the makers of Let's Make a Bus Route. And they have a new game coming out in July. It's called Come Sail Away, 20th century, start of, you know, long-term luxury cruises. Basically what you have is you have a bunch of wooden passengers, a bunch of rooms. You have your own luxury cruise liner, and you're going to be moving them from room to room, trying to place them depicted on the cards to match the areas of the ship that they're going to be trying to go to. Facilities and cabins all have their own placement conditions. Passengers are picked one by one in a Mancala type fashion, and the rooms are full. They give bonus and endgame scoring. I mean, it sounds like a really kind of cool concept. So I'm a big fan of this style of game. I'm really going to have my eye on this one. It's going to be on my short list of things to check out this summer. So if that has any interest to you as well, they actually ship to North America now, if you weren't aware, because that's how I got Let's Make a Bus Route, the dice game, which is an absolutely fantastic game, better than the actual roll and write version of its predecessor by the same name. What else we got going on? We got Call of freaking Duty. Do you see that one? They're trying to take another first-person shooter and they're trying to bring it to the tabletop. Will it be successful? No freaking clue. Arcane Wonders better have some things in store for us. You know, it makes me think of already like Apex Legends as well as Dead Cells and now Call of Duty, right? I predicted this like 2 years ago on the channel. Like right after I started the channel, I said, this is gonna be massive. And we're just seeing more of it. It's not slowing down, it's speeding up. I mean, we have 3 or 4 this month already. That's crazy. But Call of Duty, you know, it's one thing if you make it a war game. It's another if you're going to try and first-person shoot, right? There's not really any good first-person shooter board game tabletop translations out there. The only one that even comes to mind off the top of my head is Adrenaline, which, I mean, people really like, partially, very selectively, niche, but there's not really anything else that I can think of. Can you think of anything else? It reminds me more of something like Sniper Elite, and it's a 2-player head-to-head game. So you're simultaneously and secretly playing actions that are going to engage your enemy and outmaneuver them, and combat's quick, deadly, and back and forth recklessly, however you want to do it, depending on what weapons you have and what terrain you're going through and how the maps are set up. I have no idea. I mean, this sounds cool, but does it actually work? Sniper Elite, the crowdfunding game, had a really rave review as sort of a port of something like this already. And like when I think of Call of Duty as a first-person shooter, head-to-head 2-player game is not what I think of. I think of more of the Battle Royale-esque theme, if you will. Now, what scares me about this, though, at the same time, is the Board Game Geek description says, want a more experience? They don't list it in the actual player count, though. The actual listed player count on Board Game Geek is 2, so that might just be wrong. But at the bottom of the description, they say, want a better experience? Or more engaging experience? However you want to call it, right? Put both core games together. That scares me right there, because I can't tell if they're talking about buying 2 core games to put them together to make it 4-player, or if they're saying, guess what, guys? We're going to have 2 separate core games, and you get to pick which one you want, red or blue. Wait, no, that's Pokemon. But that's the thing I kind of worry about. Expansions already. They literally say in the Board Game Geek description already, expansions, new maps, new operators, weapons, and game modes. You're going to put new game modes, not even in the... Oh my gosh. This has, you know, a complex multi-tier crowdfunding FOMO written all over it already. Am I intrigued? Abso-freaking-lutely. I mean, it's my job to be intrigued. It's my job to talk about this. Hype it up? Well, maybe. We'll see. I mean, is Arcane Wonders also going to bring this to crowdfunding? That's going to be the question. How are you going to support this? I mean, Arcane Wonders is one of the bigger companies, but where's it going to come from? Speaking of completely random things that have nothing to do with previous topics, Pax Viking. Do you ever want to play a PAX game, PAX, with your kids? Well, Ion Game Design is now putting out Pax Viking Junior. So, Vikings, ships, you're a cat family, actually. So, very family-friendly oriented there. Going with the cat thematic, anthropomorphic, thematic incorporation. I don't know. I'm just proud of myself for saying anthropomorphic on the first take. We'll see. Viking ship traveling across the seas, rivers, collecting silver, gold, and jewels, making friends among the animals around Europe. It's on pre-order, I think, on their website right now. I'm intrigued. Show me what you got. I'd love to be able to play something like that with my kids. My kids would find it amusing. Good tweener games are hard to come by, so that'd be nice. Speaking of adapting things, Monasterium. You may remember this for about 2020, sort of lurking in the background. Well, now it's actually coming to crowdfunding in Q3 to get more of a wider release, especially over in North America. This is more of a heavier worker placement where you're managing a monastery, right? Did you ever want to manage a monastery? Did you ever want to be a monk? Me neither. But with this one, you're going to have a strategic dice innovative mechanism, giving you new challenges each and every game. Double-sided board, one side for molest players, one side for 3 to 4. I haven't really heard much about this one since it was originally announced, and it's got a 7.4 on Board Game Geek. It's sitting 2 to 4 players, 1 to 2 hours, weight of 3 1/4. Does that appeal to you? Does it stand up? What are we going to see? What is going to be different? How are they going to adapt things when it comes to crowdfunding? And we'll kind of see where it goes. Again, not my usual type of game, but I led the video off talking about Bitoku, so, I mean, that shows you how much my changes have shifted over the years already now, so there you go. Since I just mentioned Bitoku, let's go back to Devere. Devere has another upcoming release that they just announced called Ring Circus. You're taking on the role of a circus director who's touring around the United States at the end of the 19th century. hiring trapezists, hiring your artists and your performers to perform in the towns and cities to the various degree that you need to do to survive, essentially. I think this sounds like a really fascinating game because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be hiring these artists and performers, and you're going to be actually having to choose the order in which they perform, which is going to affect how many points they give you. So there's going to be some interaction there. But then you're also going to be going around to cities or towns of different sizes, which are going to give you better or worse rewards based on if there is a free space to do so, or if you're going for smaller ones, they may give you more entry cards or more fame points. But if you go to the larger ones, you'll get obviously more fame points, but you have to have a very specific lineup that is going to have to be more attuned to the audience that you are entertaining in the first place. A little bit of endgame bonus, hand management, area majority influence theme. I kind of like it. So sounds really intriguing, and Circus definitely underutilized. So Devere's got a really good track record with these heavier games lately. So if this can pique a little bit of interest there, could be another sleeper hit. So we'll see where it goes. What else we got going on? Ezra and Nehemiah, the latest game announced from Garfield. You've probably seen it on the HoTnEss. It took a couple days to get there, but they just announced it over the live stream, which I covered in the last news video, and I told you to watch when it was going live on the 28th, I believe. So that was their latest one announced, which is interesting because the last game that had a thematic incorporation from the Bible, the Jerusalem behind me, people were kind of like, well, I'm afraid that the Christians are just going to overrate it because they're not used to games this complex. Literally a comment that I got, right? Ridiculous. So Garfield Games is saying, rebuild the walls, rebuild the temple. It's Persia. Things have been destroyed. How do you do it? Over 3 rounds, you're going to do it with building hands of cards, workers, and resources in order to rebuild the city of Jerusalem. They're taking their spin on things. I'm going to imagine it's going to be a similar weight to, say, like Wayfarers or Scholars of the South Tigris. I have no idea. I could see it even being a little bit heavier potentially. And so, again, thematic incorporation. It's cool across the board. I don't care religious or anything else. Make a good game. This is an intriguing concept. Incorporating a little bit of history. Okay, there you go. Speaking of historical restoration, though, we're going to go over to Czech Games because Czech Games also just announced, and you may have seen this one in the HoTnEss as well, the other one that you can't pronounce, Kutna, Hora, the City of Silver, where you are restoring a Gothic cathedral instead. Talk about demons or Gothic on a game or a channel, it's completely fine. Talk about a religion, somehow, again, that's where people have issues. Without preaching, of course. But historical building, Euro game style, 2 to 4 players, supply and demand experience for every action has a big impact on what's going to have endgame scoring wise. I really like the sound of this one because you have double-sided cards that are going to give you different actions depending on what you choose. You're also going to have asymmetric guilds that are going to be available for you to manipulate or to utilize in order to get your resources managed in the first place. Mine, smelt, silver, grow. How are you going to do it? Czech Games, I'm impressed so far. I really like the description of this one, actually, potentially even more than Ezra and Nehemiah. So we'll see what they can do as well. This one's not coming out until later in the year as well, I believe. And they actually have a couple articles up on the Board Game Geek forums already talking about this dynamic economy that they're going to be doing and how you're going to be building the actual city itself. The other very interesting concept that has a Board Game Geek entry, unlike several of the other properties now at this point, but Darrington Press, the people behind Critical Role, they just announced their next game. And the first one was kind of meh. At least the first one that I know about. This is going to be their take on deck building. So I'm intrigued. Battle Royale deck building. Guile and deception included. I have no clue what this one is going to look like. I have no clue when it's going to come out. But they say you're going to have this special dice tower clock that tracks turns, offers you cards to buy, as well as rolls your dice, faces the player on their own individual turn. 200 unique cards for your princesses that are trying to take over by being the queen, and you get to customize your deck. I have no clue. I mean, it's hitting the keywords there. It's definitely more up my ilk than the previous couple, but, Darrington hasn't really put out anything that I've been really impressed by so far, board game-wise, tabletop-wise. And I'm hoping this one will be the standout for them because It sounds really freaking fantastic right now. So now we've hit that, let's go to the HoTnEss. The HoTnEss, what do we got going on in the HoTnEss? Well, Ezra and Nehemiah, like I already talked about. Earth, which we've talked about previously from Inside Up Games. Then we have the newest comer on the HoTnEss. We have the Isofarian Guard, which is the big like 1 to 2 player campaign sprawling. It's bigger than Gloomhaven and Frosthaven's boxes combined. Like, I don't know, like, that's a weird dynamic for me. People are like bragging and showing like social media pics. This is bigger than, I'm like, are you going to play through that? How many legacy campaign games do you need? How much are you going to get into that, right? Like, holy crap, Batman. So we'll see. I mean, relatively good reception so far, but a lot of it's been the pre-release hype as well. So we'll see. Does it stand up to the test of time? How does it stand to the other big campaign legacy narrative games that have been put out in the last year? It's going to have a little bit of a different dynamic just because of the player count right now. It's a 1 to 2 player game. So I have no idea. Sky Kingdom Games, you know, made the rounds in terms of putting stuff out there. So there's a lot of hype for it, but we'll see kind of where it settles in, you know, 3-6 months. That's going to be sort of the interesting test there. Darwin's Journey, it's getting delivered. People are playing it. People are rating it. People are clicking on it. So deluxeified versions are selling for upwards of like $200 some on the secondary market right now. If it's that good, folks, they'll have it come out later, or just wait for the non-deluxeified version, I guess. I don't know. People are going to yell at me in the comment section for saying that. What else is going on in the HoTnEss? Well, not a whole lot else. It's the usual faces and figures. The only thing that maybe is a slight departure as well is the quest for El Dorado, but that's because all of a sudden the North American new versions, not the Ravensburger versions, but the new versions with the new art and the new card sizes have just shown up everywhere. I actually ordered myself a copy as well, so I'll have that in a week or two. That's about it right now, even scrolling through things. Distilled, making your own gin, making your own liqueur, that's on there as well, because again, it's a delivery from crowdfunding. Planet Unknown, like I mentioned already, is because it's getting the clicks from the expansion news. That's it. That's about it right now. Same thing with Ra. The new version of Ra just got delivered. Guards of Atlantis 2. All of those. Revive is finally coming over to North America. Endeavor Deep Sea, I guess. I'll have my review sometime out in the next week or so as well. Spoilers. It's fantastic. You should be checking out if you're not interested, especially as a non-Euro person. I say that. Heat Pedal to the Metal still waiting for a reprint. And that's about it right now. So I told you, a lot of news all packed into one. A lot of stuff all over the place. I love doing it. Love it if you subscribe. That's all I got. Stay classy. That's all I'll say. Boom! Double workout today. Triceps and some cardio fat burn. That's all I got. Don't skip leg day. Thanks, guys.